And Clara Barton was here along this area. I know she was on Charles Street, and I'm pretty sure she was in this building right over here. It's now just an office building, but you can see, look up and you can see a lot of the architecture that was present at the time.
They used to house the wounded there?
Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, you're talking about thousands and thousands of wounded. I think there's like 10,000 wounded. There are more wounded people here in 1864 than actually lived here.
Now, the bricks that we're walking on, are these original or restored?
No, I don't think so. I don't think any of the. I mean, this was a hotel at one time. Go across the street here. I mentioned Edward McGuire. I can show you his house up here.
All right.
This was an area of Fredericksburg that was popular in the 19th century. A number of people that played a role in its history that lived along in this area. And Fredericksburg is kind of, you had the business district, and you had people living here, and you had people living down by the river. I didn't think about this until a couple months ago, and I said, it's kind of interesting how that developed. That was the earliest part. This became fashionable in the early 19th century. And see, McGuire lived on the corner there. He had a couple of houses. This was a house before his final house, and he lived on the other side of the railroad tracks. The railroad came in the 1850s. It kind of divided the town. But railroad was important for Fredericksburg. It was frustrating getting it started. Things like that. Fredericksburg depended on a lot of river traffic. In fact, when Fredericksburg developed, it was the 10th largest port in colonial America. Now you don't know anything about it, but this was a Fredericksburg Normal School. That was one of the buildings housed students. Now it's simply a private home.
A private home?
Yep. The guy lives there.
Now, did you say this over here was the McGuire house?
That was McGuire's house.
Okay.
I would say, probably he was here 1838, 1813, 1858. This was his first one, so I can't remember when he got the other one. I've never actually been in there. But right up
now,
here,
is that a private home now also?
Yeah, a private home. Yeah, all these are private homes, but right up here, I'll show you, here's the Mary Washington house. But, one of our diarists, Jane Beale, this was kind of, I call literary street, because one of our diarists in the Civil War lived here. The house is being restored. There's another diarist a block down. So I don't know what about this street was made it a literary center, but it kind of was. This developed, say, 19th. Of course, this was here in the 1700s, but most of the real fashionable development occurred at the time of the 1890s, further on down that way. But this is the Mary Washington house right here, and I can give you kind of directions to the other. This is Lewis Street, I believe. Yeah.
Now, was George Washington from this area, or
actually he lived here? Yeah, he was born in the Northern Neck area and came here as about a 6-year-old boy across the street at Ferry Farm, across the river at Ferry Farm. You heard the old story about cutting down the cherry tree?
Yes.
That would have occurred here.
Oh wow, really?
But it didn't happen. It was a great story.
Yes.
Just like the chariots taking George Washington up to heaven and all like that. It was kind of a figment of some of their early biographies. But that's the Mary Washington house. If you want to see Kenmore, you go all the way down to Washington Avenue. It's about 2 or 3 blocks down that way, and take a right, and there's a big colonial mansion and property. And if you want to see the tavern, you go down here for 2 blocks to Caroline Street, and take a left, and it's about 2 blocks. This is kind of a central spot. You've got historical stuff here, you've got it up here in Kenmore and the Rising Sun.